Yes, good evening, Moses. Can you hear me? Hello, Moses. Can you hear me? So, good evening, members. Hope you all can hear me. Right. So, we'll just wait for a few more minutes for others to join. Currently, we have Vincent, we have Vabirev and Moses, we have Professor Tilak, and I am waiting for a few more people to join. So anyway, let them join. So today, I hope you all can hear me. If you can hear me, just thumbs up, please. Just give a thumbs up, or you can put in the chat box that you all can hear me. Can you hear me? You can put in the chat box. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So, right. So today's session, it is very important, just because of the reason it's going to give you a good insight what will be an ICT research. Because once we are studying research, we were together with our colleagues from management as well, but we have studied everything in the same way. There are a few differences, but these differences are very, very significant. So today's agenda, we are going to see what is the difference between an ICT research and a social science research. That is the major thing what we are going to see. And I'm going to put a sample research and explain the methodology. I'm going to explain only the methodology and the outcome, because the basic difference is in the methodology and the outcome when we try to compare ICT research with a social science research. Now, you don't have to worry about your micro research. After this session, you might think that, oh my God, I have to change the way I'm going to do it now. Don't worry about that one, because I want to give you, or this session, this seminar will give you an insight how an ICT-based research is different from that of a management or a social science-related research. I hope the agenda is clear for you all. So now soon I'm going to start. I hope I have all my PhD scholars with me. I thank you all for joining this fine holiday, Sunday weekend holiday. And I believe there is no background disturbances from my side, so that we'll go this meeting in a good way. So within no time, I'm going to share my screen. If you want to take notes, you can take notes. There is no problem. So I'm going to start with my presentation. So today, our agenda is how a management research is different from a basic social science research. So today we are going to discuss how an ICT research is different from a management research. I request all members to mute. You can even mute your videos so that you'll get a clear recording. I'm going to share this as well. Right. So let's see how we are going to sort out this thing. Let's see. Now, if you take a management research and ICT research, they are different from different ways. Moses, can you please mute your video? Can you just hide your video so that the recording will be more proper? All right. Now, let's see. Now, basically, all research are same. There is no difference. But when we look at an ICT research and a social science research, there are some differences which are very significant. So let's see on that one. Let's start working on it. Now, if you look at an ICT research, and if you try to compare that with a management research, the difference, first one is on focus area. I'll explain one by one, because now you just think of the research, what you're doing. Think of the micro research in your mind, which will spearhead to your major PhD research. So because we know we are moving from our micro research to our main PhD research. So think of the focus area. And I have an assurance that we have taken a slice of the pie of our main PhD research to do our micro research. One thing I want to tell you, in this session, don't feel upset just because you may think that, oh my God, my research, my micro research is out of scope. No. Now, why we are doing this micro research? To learn research methodology. But this session will give you a clear insight how a PhD research should be. So think on the focus area, what you are doing, because your topics of your micro research. So we are trying to look in your focus area. So I request the attendees to take a sheet of paper and write your focus area. Some people, it may be in IoT security. For some, it may be in ICT security. Some people, it may be on artificial intelligence-based cybersecurity. For some people, it is the inclusion of ICT. So some of your research, inclusion of ICT in usage performance. Typically, if you are working on the library, inclusion with ICT infrastructure. For persons like Tilak, researcher like Tilak, that will be more on how we are going to incorporate the extended realities in better learning as well as knowledge delivery environment. So just focus, just keep writing your focus area. That is the first part. The second thing, the objectives of your research. I think to the last person, I have sent the details. Today, I done the details for Professor Vincent, and I think I done for Moses, isn't it? Is that for Moses? So I done for a few people today. So focus on your objectives. Don't worry, your objectives. Then the major focus will be on the methodology. What categorizes, what gives a more distinction of an ICT research with a social science or other research is that methodology. Then we will, that will be the more focus of today's agenda, the methodology. And I put a sample research to explain this one. Then we will see on the outcomes. And we will see who will be the audience also. Based on this outcome, who will be the audience of our research? Because, you know, when you do research, there is always an audience in front of you. It can be the technology people, it can be the users, it can be the developers, it can be the policy makers, or it can be a collaboration of all these stakeholders. So let's start. Good evening. It is 7 past 10 p.m. Fine greetings from Kampala. So today we are going to see the distinction between an ICT research and a management research, and more topics will be covered. The focus will be on ICT research. So let's see the distinction based on the focus area, because I'm going to put the two kinds of researchers side by side. One side you can see the ICT research, the other side you can see the social science research. Now, if you look at the ICT research, this is more important. The focus is on technology related topics. The focus is on technology related topics. It can be a software development, it can be a network security, it can be on artificial intelligence, it can be on data analytics, it can be on Internet of Things, it can be on cloud computing, it can be on IT infrastructure, it can be on cyber security, or it can be a combination of. I think all my scholars comes in this category. All my scholars comes under this category. But while on the other side, if you focus on management research, it is basically on the aspects of leadership, strategic planning, human resource management, organizational behavior, and related things. So our focus is on the ICT research. I hope you got a clear distinction. What is the significance of ICT research? What will be the focus area? And which all topics you can touch? Because I don't wish my scholars in ICT to do a research that replicates, that resembles a social science research. So that is why I want to put focus more on this seminar, how to do your work. Now, so we have seen the first one, the focus area. Now we are going to see the methodology. This is more important. Methodology is more important. So let's see how an ICT research is distinguished from a social science research. Now, if you look at an ICT research, we use technical methodologies. And our studies will be on experimental methods. If you take an algorithm, you can take a ciphering and a deciphering algorithm, and you can break the codes. How capable is this algorithm? And you can see what is the deficiencies in this algorithm. So what happens if you want to do that? You have to do experimental studies. Let's take a scenario. George is doing a research on how ICT inclusion of the ICT infrastructure in libraries is going to enhance the library user experience. Now, if you want to do such an experimental design, you should have two things with you. One side, a library user, where the user is not able to use any digital facilities or ICT inclusion. The other side, we have some users, you have users who are using ICT. Now, then you can perfectly do an experimental study. If you take the case of Vincent, who is working on IoT security, so he has to do in such a way that he has to study the current network security or the security what we are using in IoT devices. If an intruder comes, how it is going to affect. So we have to do an experimental study. There is a case where we work on how the fraudulent transactions in a bank can be identified using big data. So how we can include big data to identify the fraudulent transactions. So you should have a big data set in a bank that consists of the user, the account holder ID to the transaction ID, and many things that comes with the data set, and that forms a big data. So from the big data, how we can generate, how we can dictate the fraudulent transactions. If you're using AI for that, then you have to use machine learning strategies, experiments to work on it. On the other side, the Tilak works in such a way that how extended reality can improvise knowledge delivery and learner acceptance of the academic delivery scenarios. Moses, can you unmute and tell me what is your research about? Moses, can you hear me? What is your research? Moses, please unmute. Moses, can you hear me?
Sir, I think he said, hello, doctor, no sound. It is Moses, I think.
He cannot hear
He
me?
sent a message.
He cannot hear me?
That's what he sent a message. He sent a message like that. I don't know.
He cannot hear me. I asked Moses to unmute. I can see him.
Sir, at least he can send a message, no, sir.
Moses, please unmute. Let me send a message to him. Hello, doctor, no sound. Others can hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, doctor, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh, all right. So I don't know what happened to him. I can see him, but I don't know whether he can hear me. No problem. So what I'm saying, if you look at your researches, most of them should come with some experimental work. When Susan works on AI-based internet security, cyber security, now what she has to do, there should be some experiments has to be done on this matter. So your methodology is different from that of the social science research. I hope you are getting me. I hope you are getting me, because you have to do simulations, you have to do modeling, and from that collected data, you have to make out with your outcome. But while in the case of a social science research, what happens is that it uses qualitative and quantitative methods using surveys, case studies, interviews, focus groups. So don't worry, because now Tilak is working on these things. Most of you are working on these things. But certain areas, if you want to revise, you can do revisions. Don't worry. This micro research, you don't worry, because it is a practical training for you to how to do research. But when you come to your real PhD research, all ICT research should be distinguished from and management or social science research on this matter. It should have an experimental study. You can either take an algorithm, you can take an existing technique, or you can try to create a new technique. I always say that it will be a bit tedious to create something new, so work on an existing one. All right. So I hope you all are clear with what I'm going to say, the distinction when you talk about an ICT research methodology. Now, if you look at the objectives, we are going to give a comparison. How an ICT research objectives will be different from that of a social science research. See, an ICT research aims to develop a new technology or improve existing system. So I roll back to George's research. We know there is inclusion of ICT in all library systems. From the beginning of tracking of books to search books, from book allocation to enhance reader experience for readers if they want to copy something. And readers can access all kinds of books that are published or articles that are published through various clouds and connected internet facilities. Now, if you look at Tilak's research, or if you look at Moses' research, or if you look at Vincent's research, we have an existing system. So our study should be focused on improving the existing system or solve a technical problem. Let's take, we are discussing a research today. I think George was participating in that discussion through WhatsApp. We are discussing how the security measures can be implemented in IoT devices in mobile communication or mobile communications, especially in Uganda. So, we can solve some technical problems, and other ways we can enhance the existing field of knowledge in the information technology. So this will be the objectives of your research. I repeat, your research should either improve a system which is existing, solve a technical problem, or it should give at least the concept model of a new technology which can be practically implemented, or to advance the knowledge in the field of current that exists in the information technology. But if you look on the other side, in management research, the scholars are trying to study, understand about an existing organizational phenomenon, or improve management practice, enhance decision-making process, and contribute to the development of management theories or the social science theories. I hope all members are very clear with what I told at this moment. Any questions on this matter, please? You can unmute, you can interact, please. Participants, can you hear me? And do you have any questions on this matter? I think I think I have an internet problem, or you have an internet problem. I don't know. Can you type in the chat box, please?
Even I cannot hear.
You cannot hear me?
No, I cannot hear George speech.
Yeah, George, can you type?
Continue. I think we are on track. Can you hear me?
You all are on track. Okay.
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor.
All right. Thank you.
I
hope
doctor.
I can see Moses. I don't know whether he can hear me. All right. So up to now, we are clear with our objectives, because this distinction is very important. So, yes, please.
Vincent is saying something.
Yes, please. Tell me, Vincent.
Yes, doctor. Yes, doctor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry to take you back a bit. Thank you so far. There is a saying that says.
Yeah, I was saying that I think we're on track. I was saying I think we're on track. You could continue.
Vincent, okay. You want to say me something?
Yes. What I was saying, that there is a saying that says security is not a technical problem, but it is a management issue. Of course, I understand where you're coming from in terms of ICT in the research area. Research in ICT area. But what is your comment on that when someone says security is not a technical issue, it is it's a management issue? Thank you.
All right. Now let me take an analogy. Now, at my home, I have a lock and I have a gate. I don't have a security guard. Forget about it. Now, basically, to ensure security, what should I do? I should lock my padlock, and I should make sure that everything is bolted properly so that my security will be safe. The next question, if someone can use a duplicate key, or someone can use a technique in which they can open my locks. Now, is that a management problem or a technical problem? Vincent, please. Vincent, can you hear me?
Come again, doctor.
I was saying, I have some
Yes.
security measures at my home.
Yes.
So when I sleep, before when I get into my room, I lock my house with my keys and I make sure that everything is locked. But somebody who want to intrude in my house, they have some alternate devices through which they can open my locks and get into my house. So is that a management problem or is that a technical problem associated with the lock?
Technical problem.
Sorry?
It's a technical problem.
Now I hope I answered you well.
Yes, you answer me from that aspect, but anyway, let's move on. But you are very right from that aspect. But if I take you from an angle of within an organization itself in terms of implementing security and wherever. But yes, from that aspect, I totally agree with you 100%. Thank you.
This is where I want you to distinguish yourself. You are not doing a management problem. Are we together? Now,
yes, doctor.
If you take
yes,
a
doctor.
if we take a problem, it has two sides. One is what? A management reason. The other one is a technical reason. We are focusing only on ICT technology. We are not looking into management problem, but we can look into network management, not with the inclusion of people. Now, we keep people aside. I hope you are getting me. We keep people aside. We know virus can get into a system when we give access to people to insert unauthorized devices into our network. You know that. Now, how we can prevent such interventions? Yes, if you have any peripheral device access to your network system, you can block it, isn't it? Using your network management. Clearly. So that is the focus we are doing. Now, any intruder coming into a network system, typically on IoT devices management, if somebody want to intrude in your system, you can deny that access. But if you keep your system open, or if you permit people to get inside, that becomes a management problem, isn't it? So we focus on technology related problems and technology related issues. We can use user experience to check whether what we are trying to explain matches with user experience. I hope I'm clear, Vincent. Vincent.
Yes, doctor. We are together. We are together.
Oh, all right, all right. This is what this is the purpose of this seminar. This is actually the purpose of this seminar. All right. Now that question is very pertinent question, and that's what I want people to ask. Now that gives you a distinction. We keep management aside. We keep technology on our shoulders. We are going to work with technology. All right. Now, when we move on, if you look at the outcome, this is more important because the research outcome clearly distinguishes whether it is an ICT research or other side of research. Let's compare the outcomes of an ICT research and a social science or a other field research. In ICT research, it may be the creation of a new software application, or at least a concept, a working model, or an algorithm, or a refinement of an algorithm, or a new protocol, or refinement of a protocol, or a refinement of an existing technology, or a new technology, or a new framework, or a redefining of an existing framework that addresses specific technical challenges. Specific technical challenges, not management challenges. A specific technical challenges or an opportunity. So that it can be a new discovery or enhancing user experience. That is an opportunity. That is an opportunity, isn't it? So it can be an opportunity or a technical challenge. So how we can resolve that one? If you look back to your research, what you're doing now, you can clearly understand. Josh can think, Moses can think, Vincent can think, all these participants, Tilak can also think how my research is going to contribute, what I am going to contribute. So this is what we have to focus on. Don't worry about an existing micro research, but still we have time to refine it, because what data we collect, we can add more data, we can change it, because we are the owners of our research. We are the owners. So when we get a better understanding, we can reframe everything. Since we have a better understanding, it is easy for us to change the framework, or it is easy to change our experimental designs. Because if you know how to drive a car, you can drive all categories of four-wheelers, isn't it? Almost all categories. So if you know research, it is easy for you to translate your research, what you are doing. And if you feel that it is not in the ICT track, it's more important. If it is on the ICT track or a management track, maybe the perspective may be on the management side, but the track should be on ICT track. So I request all my scholars of ICT, when you are doing your research, your track should be on the technical track. Your track should be on technical track. So these are some examples. But when we roll on to management research, it gives recommendations for a change. It gives recommendations for developing some management strategies, insights to some kind of leadership, some marketing contributions. So, it is all based on management theories. So that will be the outcome. So we talked about, now we are going to see the audience. Your research has audience. That's more important. The audience for ICT is primarily targeted to technology professionals, developers, engineers, research, and academicians in the field of ICT. Maybe it gives some insights to the people in non-ICT fields, but your audience, your focus will be on these professionals. Why we talk about software developers? It can be also leading to hardware developers also. It depends upon the complexity. Like Vincent's research, IoT, security, it can give a lot of insights. And for the people who use communication technology, they will get a lot of insights. On the other side, when you talk about fraudulent transactions in banks, yes, it gives insights to the people who develop applications for banking solutions. Yes, so they will get such kind of insights. And your research can be incorporated in that way. So once again, I say your audience are the people in ICT. Maybe the non-ICT people can take elements from it, but our focus is on the audience will be on ICT professionals. But in management research, like managers, executives, organizational leaders, policy makers, consultants, academicians, everyone is included. So I try to give you a distinction. I try to give a distinction based on the 4 factors: the methodology, what you use, the outcomes, the audience, your objectives. So these all clearly distinguishes an ICT research with a non-ICT research. What I've seen in ICT research, which can be easily adopted, is experimental designs. So our research design should be on experiments. In a chemistry lab, we do a lot of experiments using chemicals. If you look at a biological science lab, if you are defining a vaccine, if you are developing a vaccine, improvising a vaccine, yes, we are using the components what we have developed using the protocols. So similarly, ICT researchers, you have to have an experimental design. Maybe when this experimental design comes, you may have to interact with user satisfaction also. So these experimental designs have 2 phases. It can be a qualitative phase and a quantitative phase. In quantitative phase, you work with the machines and your system. In the qualitative phase, you check the user experience. I hope you are getting me. So we will see with the sample research. Anyway, now everything is as usual. You have a research question or a hypothesis. I don't have to explain much on that one. We are very well versed with how we get into our research question and how we formulated our hypothesis. What are the propositions we have? What are the concepts we have? What all are the constructs we have? And how we have done our modeling and everything, because you all have done that. For last, the remaining 2 people, I have sent it today with my corrections and suggestions. Now, we have our own variables, because these variables makes the relations. But the variables in management research will be different. The variables in ICT research will be different because, you know, this makes us a significant distinction. How is our research, how we are going to do the experimental designs. Then controlled conditions, because where we have our control variables, intervening mediate variables, everything will be coming in that one. That will show you with an example, a sample research. Randomization. Today, I'm not going to talk about randomization today, because my focus on today is this experimental design methodology and some amount of control condition that I will discuss later, because otherwise this will be an extensive seminar that we cannot digest it at once. Then we give experimental groups that we'll discuss later, how we collect the data from these experiments, how we collect this data, and how we do the statistical analysis. So this is how we are going to work on our research. But I know very well, all of you know, your micro research has these all components. Only thing now you may feel that, oh my God, am I in the technology track or am I in the people track? That some question may come in front of you. Don't worry, because technology encompasses of people. So as a prima facie, when you do the research, now we are through micro research, we are learning how to do the research, but still we have enough time, enough space to make adjustments in our research. When you get some insight, okay, I want to change. Yes, you can keep changing. But this night, you're going to get more insights on your research. So let's see. I'm working on one research. This is also from one of our scholars in ICT. Because why I use this one, this is a bit complicated. So it is easy for me to explain to you. The research is using machine learning to break codes, unmasking cryptographic weaknesses. Maybe from this you can understand what the researcher is going to see, because in ciphering and deciphering, we use cryptography, and cryptographic keys are used to cipher and to decipher. So if a third party comes and we want to see how we can break this ciphering, how somebody can get into this one, so we can identify the weakness in the existing ciphering techniques. This is the purpose of this research. So how we can use machine learning techniques to identify the weaknesses in this encryption and decryption. So that is the research is all about. Now we are trying to see how a researcher has to execute this research. Today, we will only talk on methodology, nothing else. We are going to talk only on methodology. So let's see how we are going to work on it. Now, you may get an idea. Yes, this has to be tested, how we can do different intrusion techniques, and we have to take the outcomes. And based on that, we have to do an analysis. We have to collect that, and we have to do an analysis, and we can see what are the challenges now, how we can resolve such challenges. All right. So let's see. Let's work on this one. So on the research, using machine learning to break the codes, So let's see what are the weaknesses, how we can do this research. For this research, we need some controlled conditions. I'm going to explain that one, how that controlled conditions are going to happen. For these controlled conditions, we have an experimental environment, because straightly you cannot get into a real world system and try to attack the system. No. It is not good. It is not at all possible. So we have an experimental environment with us. Now you may ask me, how we'll get this experimental environment? Yes, we can use virtualizations, virtual machines, virtual machine techniques and everything. We'll come to that one. Implementation we will discuss later. Now I'm telling the concepts. Now we are going to come to see the concepts now. So there is an experimental environment for the work. So using that experimental environment, we collect data. So we do multiple attacks and we try to see how good and weak is the system using the data collected. From that collected data, we can put them in machine learning models. That all I will discuss later. We can put in machine learning models. From that one, we can work on with these cryptographic algorithms, and we can use evaluation metrics. So we can use evaluation metrics. Don't worry about the technical parts of this one, but I'm trying to tell you, in this experimental environment, we do experiments, we do different kinds of attacks. Based on that, we collect data sets, we put them in machine learning models. We can identify different machine learning models, and using that aligned with cryptographic algorithms, we do evaluation metrics that gives how strong is that existing system. And this will give a baseline comparison. What is a baseline comparison? How good is the system? How weak is the system? How strong is the system? Let's think in a natural way. You have locked a room with a padlock or with a key. Now, you are the only one person having the key. Someone tried to open the door using multiple number of keys. Maybe some similarity may be there, so he will success. Or he may use some other devices to open the lock, not to break the entire door, only the lock. So this is how we are going to see it. So controlled experimental conditions. Data collected from that conditions, we can put into machine learning models and we can assess whether this existing system is good or bad. Existing cryptographic techniques is good or bad. This can be used in IoT. This can be used in cybersecurity. This can be used in all areas. The same principle, experimental condition. Let's talk about George. Now he can have an experimental environment where a set of people using library experience where they don't have any ICT inclusion. On the other side, there is a people who have benefited ICT inclusion and who use ICT more on their reading. So you can see the difference. A difference between someone using a Kindle reader and someone using a book to read. There are a lot of difference. Someone sitting at home, accessing all the digital libraries, getting everything on fingertips rather than someone going to a library and reading books. So a comparative measurements. But now the question comes whether this is a pure ICT related. We have to work on it. Maybe we may have to change some kind of tracks on that one. In the case of Mr. Tilak, he is working on extended realities. But let you go with your current research, what you're doing now. I don't want you to deviate from that one. Just because the reason that is the baseline that spearheads your research practices. But when you move further, your main research has to be on ICT track. For others, like Vincent and the person who works on big data, the people who work on artificial intelligence, cybersecurity methods. So for all these people, they are in the same track. Because I see only difference in the case of Tilak and Mr. George, because it is more on user experience. So for the time, we'll go with that one. But you can just think how we can have an experimental environment. How we can have an experimental environment. It's an opportunity, it's an insight for you to think how to track your research now to a pure technology, ICT technology based. You can think of that one. All right. Now, this experimental environment, I hope you can see when for this research, we have a sender and we have a receiver. So there is sender on one side and there is receiver on one side, on the other side. The sender has a message It is encrypted as a ciphertext, and it is sent to the receiver. At the receiver end, it is decrypted using deciphering techniques, and the message is delivered. Now, what the researcher is going to do here, in the existing research, what we are going to see, is trying to break this one. How good is this encryption, decryption? How good is this one? He is trying to break into it and see how vulnerable or how strong is this process. So this is on something on the security part of message transmission. So what he can do, he can use machine learning algorithms to break the codes. I'll explain that later, because just think he can work on some kind of different algorithms and take opportunities to break the codes, and he can unmask the cryptographic weaknesses. What is the strength of the cryptography? Somebody should not be able to access the ciphered message. So he can unmask, he's trying to unmask the weakness of the system. For this, he trying to do a decryption or deciphering using data from different cryptographic algorithms. You know, all this encryption, decryption happens with algorithms. So he is trying to work on that. Now, when you do ICT research, you should have a clear understanding of the process. We are not doing anything virtually. This is very important. That is why it is not, your scope should not be so wide. It will be very difficult for you to focus. So even a small area, you focus more and more, because you need more understanding. You need more understanding. You need to work more. You need to focus more. You have to create an experimental environment. What I need from you all, it should not be just like doing a research, you know, that doesn't have any technology experience. The researcher should feel the technology experience. The researcher should feel the technology experience. It should not be on the pen and paper. So my fellow ICT researchers, I want to tell you one thing. You should not be doing something like writing a book. You really feel it. You really touch it. You really experience it. That makes the sense of an ICT research. That distinguishes from non-ICT research. So you should be on that ICT track. So I'm talking about that experimental environment. So in this research, which I was telling, when I want to break the codes of this ciphering and deciphering, now I'm creating an experimental environment. It is not necessary that you have to create a wide experimental environment. You can focus on only on few factors in your experimental environment. Let's see how it is done. We can do something called as a brute force attack. I hope you know that brute force. You try to push it open. You use any methods that you can get into. I'll explain one by one. So by brute force attack, you can try to break into the encryption, decryption scenario. You can do cryptanalysis. You know, there are many cryptographic techniques are using. Like, you know, when you see a lock, if you have some idea how a lock works, you can do different methods to how to unlock it. Then you can again break using machine learning methods. Using machine learning methods, you can generate some kind of deciphering codes, and you can try to get into the system. Then you can do side channel attacks. What is side channel attacks? It is in all dimensions. You know, all these signals are transmitted through transmission lines. All signals are transmitted through a medium. Either it is a wired medium or it is a non-wired medium. If you are using a non-wired medium, you can use ionization techniques. In certain magnetic fields, these things will not work properly. Even they are vulnerable. So in a side channel attack, not from only for cryptography, we use other environmental factors also to try to intrude into the system. I hope you are getting to me. So I can use that technique also. So in experimental condition, I have a real research lab at my home or my workplace where I am going to check all these things. To do this, you should have a good experience of these techniques. That is why I'm telling you, don't choose a wide field, but choose a field where you work more and more. And you know, the experience you get out of these experiments is solid. That makes you a perfect researcher. So my fellow ICT PhD scholars, feel the work what you're doing, feel the work. You should be able to touch and feel. It should not be something like using questionnaire, collecting some data and making it as research. No. You should feel. Your model should work. Your concept you should experience by an experimental environment. That makes a real PhD research. So that's what I want to tell you. This is the methodology what I'm using here. Now, when I work in this experimental environment, what is going to happen? So before that, I just want to tell you what is a brute force attack. In this, see, I try to put all possible decryption keys until I get one correct. You know, we have number locks, which we use to lock our houses, which we use to lock our bicycles, which we use to lock our luggages. Now, if you forget that one, we try to put different combinations, isn't it? We're trying to put. So this is a brute force attack. So if you look at here, the courtesy goes to toolbox. An attacker guesses a list of username, password combination. This all comes under that one. So just get into the system. Then another one is called adaptive chosen plain text, because I'm just telling each one. This is another method I can try. I can do cryptanalysis. I can do another method called as non-plain text analysis. I can choose a plain text analysis. I can do a ciphertext only analysis, man in the middle attack. So these are the different types of attacks we can use to break into the system. So this is just an example. So you should know, you should have the capacity with you how these all things can be done. That is more important. So when we look back to a management research, I don't want to put management research, it is low level. No, it is also same. They are also doing the same thing. But in ICT, you know, the technology has to be there. My ICT scholars don't go to people and collect data from user experience. Maybe it is required. But before that, there should be a technical component for your research. It is a must. And that technical component should be on ICT based. That is why you are on ICT research. So think, what is the back end or the front end or the end on which my work is done on technology, ICT technology, which may reflect on the other sides. So that is more important. And I try to visualize you with this sample research, how the experimental conditions are created by the researcher and how he's working on it. That is why ICT research bit becomes complicated. There is no complexity in that one. You are doing same like a management researcher, but you have to work with technology on this matter. So now just recall. If you look at here, I wish to give my courtesy to Gausal Chowdhury, who writes in the Blogspot Quora. So this picture has been taken from his Quora. So I give my reference and thanks to him. It is not created by me. So this is Gausal Chowdhury has made this one. You look at here, a encrypted message going to be decrypted at Bob, where Alice is the sender. And encrypt, we have a key, and for decryption, we have a key. Now, in between, Eve is coming in between doing some crypto analysis and try to decipher the text. So now the researcher can identify with this experimental condition, how good is this one? And here in the particular research, the user is trying to use the deciphering using machine learning techniques. So this is the concept of the study. And for that, you have to do it. Try to sort it out. That is the technology behind that. Now, once you do the experimental conditions, from these experimental conditions, what you're getting, You do experimental studies. You conduct experiments to test your hypothesis. Now, there is a question always comes in ICT researchers. I don't have an hypothesis. Why I need an hypothesis? You need an hypothesis. You are reasoning something with a valid data. You have a concept, you have a construct, you have a proposition. And from that proposition, you have an hypothesis. Your propositions, hypotheses, your constructs and concepts, all are based on theoretical backgrounds and studies what is done on network security in this matter. So you have an hypothesis. So you prove, accept or reject based on what? The data you collect from your experimental designs, not from the people. You may have to use people also on the other side. So we can say your quantitative data comes from your experimental. Your qualitative data comes from the people who use these interfaces. I hope I'm trying to set you in a path. I'm trying to set you in a track. So let's say your quantitative work comes in your ICT, and qualitative, how once it is implemented, what is going to happen. So you are investigating a phenomenon. What kind of phenomena? An ICT-based phenomenon. Information, communication, technology-based phenomena. That you have to test. Without that one, your research will not be a proper ICT research. I've seen people doing such research. There is no problem. There is no problem. So if you know the other side of the research, then it is easy for you to plug in ICT part in your research. Because now you have a clear view of what you're doing. Now just you have to incorporate the ICT part in that one, and that gives you perfection to your research. Otherwise, you cannot speak to the world your research is an ICT research. You cannot speak because there is no technical, there is no ICT element in your research. I don't want any of my scholars to have such a situation. You cannot call a ICT research. Maybe there is no problem. I'm telling my version of ICT research. You should have a technical component, ICT component in your research, where you experiment, where you practice, where you work, you evolve the data out, you do the analysis and prove your hypothesis. So from this context, you do here the researcher use experiments using machine learning algorithms to decipher the encrypted messages and try to see how strong is that ciphering technique. So if you look at management research, the methodology, it utilizes qualitative, quantitative methodology using surveys, case studies, interviews, focus groups. This is management research. But when you come to ICT, you use technical methodologies, experimental designs, development, simulation, modeling, and based on that, you data analysis and techniques. So this is not to fear you. This is not to create a fear factor in you. This is to generate insight in you. As an ICT research scholar, what you have to do. You should not use the other sides of the management research methods. Maybe a component can be, a part of your research can be from user experience and use cases, but your ICT, sorry for the spelling, your ICT research should be always with these experimental designs and simulation models. That is the methodology you have to adopt. Now, if you look at the objectives, I'm just recalling. Management, they are talking about phenomena, improvement practices, and everything. But ICT, you're talking about technical problems, scope for improvement, new technologies, solve technical problems, and give add-on knowledge to the related field. We have to make sure. But the backbone is ICT technology. So now, how is the data collected for this research? Because I told you about a sample research, how we can break the codes using AI for this unmasking, masking the ciphering, how I can collect the data. So this is our research using machine learning to break the codes, unmasking cryptographic weaknesses. So the researcher is using machine learning methods to break and identify the weaknesses in the cryptographic methods. The researcher, when he do experimental designs, he gets data sets. If you work with big data on fraudulent transactions, if you work on IoT security, if you work on any artificial intelligence using cyber security, if you are working on improvisation of user experience, if you are working on extended virtual reality, now you have to think what is that component of ICT coming into that one, and you started collecting data. So for this research, I have encrypted messages, I have ciphertext, I have encrypted data samples. So with all these things, I'm doing my experiment designs. I do a lot of experiments. And based on that, when I work, how I'll get the data? I can publicly available cryptographic challenges. That's more important. Because while I was doing my MIT studies, we were getting to do some hackathons. I remember I was on a 40 days hackathon, and my counterpart, my fellow mate, was a Nigerian who was we were in one team. So we were working with a lot of data, and with that data we were working, and it was a high-end competition. Unfortunately, we didn't reach anywhere because of connectivity problems, and because I was using Google Collaboratory. You know, here we lose internet and we didn't want, but it was an experience. So, you know, you can get this kind of data. It is publicly available. Then we can generate simulated data from you for research purposes using simulators. Then we can get some real-world encrypted communications. So by these methods, now you may think that, oh my God, it is not good to go with ICT research. No, ICT research is easy. Because of the reason, you can pinpoint very sharp. It is like, you know, if that big balloon is your problem, with a sharp needle, you can really find a solution. But when you have that big balloon in management research, it's like you are putting some hot water, you are trying to press it by hand. But its significance is there. But the technology difference is. So from these things, I get the data. Now people may think, how will get big data? We can try to generate. Oh, let's work on it. So that is why when we choose research, sometimes we may have a problem. A problem is always an opportunity for a researcher. This is what I want to tell you. Some of you might feel now, oh my God, this is a bit difficult now. No, man. All these are opportunity for you. All these are opportunity for you. The real understanding gives you challenges, but that challenges will be always an opportunity for you. I took time to work on this one because, you know, these things I cannot tell you in the beginning. It is understanding research. Gradually, you are embedding what is ICT research. Because now you are working. So working with your micro research, now you know, my micro research needs some ICT component as well. Some of you may think that, yes, we'll go for that. That thought process gives you the first instinct you are on ICT track. Now you have to choose what kind of inclusion I have to do with my ICT embedding in my research. Yes, that's you can think. Multiple times you can think, you can draw, you can think, you can, just brainstorm, you'll get into that. Definitely. So this data is collected, and that data, we can make the outcome. Look at here. So the result in creation, identifying the vulnerability, you can redefine the algorithm, you can create a technology or uplift the technology, you can create new framework. So these are good things that happens with the ICT research. So basically, I want to tell you, when I work on the research, using machine learning to break the codes and masking the cryptographic weakness, me as a researcher, I'm putting an experimental condition with this ciphertext and how I can break it to the system. What is the vulnerability of the system? So this is how the researcher is working on, and definitely it will give an outcome. So who is my audience? I'm recalling what I told you in the beginning. When I done my research, see, my audience will be the professionals who work in that networking, typically in that security things, the developers, engineers, researchers, and academicians in the field. So don't think that this session is trying to put management research down. No, this session, I wish to distinguish my research scholars in ICT that you should be clearly distinguishable with your work. Your work should be clearly distinguishable. It should be distinguished from a management research. When you say you are an ICT track of research, it should not be same that of management research. It should have the ICT component, ICT experience. You as a researcher, you should experience that ICT element in your research. So that is why I made this seminar. Right. So now, today I'm just stopping my sharing screen. Today, we talked about how we can clearly distinguish an ICT research and a management research. You know, sometimes the ICT researchers, they do everything, but it resembles a management research. So you have to be on the ICT track. So that is why I told in this workshop, exactly, sorry, it is 7 minutes past 8. I told you how your research has to be distinguished. But, and note, don't get spoiled yourself that, oh, I'm in the lost track. No, you are in the right track. That feeling itself gives you a space that, yes, I am going to incorporate ICT in my research. So now the session is open for discussions. Thank you. Members, you can respond. Now it is Q&A. If you have anything to discuss, we will discuss. I'll note down your questions. Please. Can you hear me? Or you are left?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
All right. Don't get stuck. I'm with you. We all are with you. Yes.
Sir,
Questions,
regarding
please.
data collection, sir, regarding data collection,
Sorry?
actually I plan to do regarding the data collection for the project. Sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm planning to use Google Forms. What is the next process after that? If it
No,
is
but once you use Google Form to collect the data, you can download it as an Excel sheet.
Okay.
Then see in next 2 weeks, my aim is not to put everything in one time. I give a timeline like 2 weeks where you collect the data. I'll take your data and I'll take one data set and I'll show you how to work with the data. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And in the meantime, I am planning to add one statistician. I got one statistician. So I am also planning to put a statistician on board. I'm looking for his time available. All right. Now, my question regarding this session, you have anything to ask, or do you got some insights? You can share that experience now.
After this class, we clearly understand the distinction between that ICT and the social management, research. It says like social management is something like the human behavior. And this is something to study on the how technology behaves, okay, with human. I get the point like that.
Yeah. Thanks for
how
that.
The technology works with human, that is ICT. How humans work with technology, I think studying about the human behavior goes to that social, that kind of research.
Yeah, that's a kind of understanding. Good. Other members? Thank you, Tilak.
Thank you, Dr. Paul, for your time. I think I've also got some insights on what is expected from our IT research. I fully agree with you on the distinction between the management and IT research. And I think for my case, I'm actually, from the discussion we had, I'm looking at either improving existing algorithm or develop new algorithm, probably with which will be more efficient and probably improve the existing systems and user experience. Thank you.
Yes, yes, thank you. So it gives you some insights. Other members?
Yes, thank you, Doctor. I
Yes,
really
please.
appreciate for your time. I wonder the energy you put in to produce this kind of work, preparing for us to understand everything. But yes, I've picked something that is very clear to me now in terms of the experimental environment. It seems there's no way we can dodge the experimental environment. That has to happen. But now the issue is sometimes that experimental environment tends to be a bit expensive to set it up and also have different equipments into that. I don't know how that. Sometimes you find that sometimes you find setting up. I don't know whether that experiment environment is equivalent to like a small mini lab that you need to set up to test some few things. I don't know. Maybe that's maybe I may need clarification on that.
Okay, Vincent. Now I'll tell you this experiment environment. You can use devices. Now, basically, if you I think you are working on IoT security. We have a lot of devices that works on IoT, which is in our home as well. Or we can use virtual environments. Now we are going to explore. Because we are not going to stop here. These insights, what we received now, we are going to see how we can optimally use our resources or how optimally we can collaborate with others. Because for you, I got connected with one person who works with IoT devices only. Day before yesterday, I get connected with him. So I talked to him. I have a research for my scholar who works on IoT devices. He told happy to collaborate. Are you getting me? So no, we are exploring avenues because we can find a way forward. So nothing can stop us. This is the synergy and energy we have. Because even if I am at Kampala, you are in Kampala, and we can collaborate with people. We will definitely collaborate with people. Because IoT is a common technology, devices are common. We can find, we can use virtualizations as well. We can develop virtual models as well. We are going to explore that one. So now your focus will be more on how the experimental design is going to set up, isn't it?
Yes, true.
Yes. So this session should not put you down. This session is going to give you more energy. As Tilak was telling, I'm going to come up with a very good research. That is the inspiration behind these sessions, because I don't want my research scholars, honestly, not to end up, you may get a degree, but when you talk to people, people should feel that, yes, that man has the sense in him. He is valid for his words because he experienced it. So it is possible. We'll work on it. But I know now Vincent has got that insight. Yes, you have to work on an experiment design, isn't it, Vincent?
Yes, that is true.
Yes. Anyone else?
But yeah, but I think it's likely to be both in terms of experiment and also maybe in terms of because that's another way of collecting data, and then that data will be subjected to some other known frameworks, different frameworks, like 2 or 3. But then again, there are other way of collecting data in terms of like designing forms and then get that information from the professional experts in that particular area, especially in that area of the focus area that I'm looking at.
Yeah, and members, to add on one thing, don't worry about your data analysis now, because I'm going to help you with latest tools of data analytics. We'll work with machine learning models. We use the available techniques with outside expert and expertise what I gained from my studies. So don't worry about that. The only need, we have to work. We have to work. And we have people with us. Because, you know, there is a saying, if you wish, if you eagerly aspire in your mind, you can find 10,000 people around you to support you. The only problem, they will not come to you. You have to reach to them. That is the only thing. I hope you are getting me. You can find avenues in many places. Today's discussion, George was telling, yes, the work what we are doing, even there will be many people to support us, isn't it? So that's what I'm saying. Let's make it. We will make it. We don't end it up. We'll make it. I hope Vincent is getting a clear idea. Don't get stuck. We'll work on it.
Yes, yes, I get you very well, Doctor. Asante sana.
Yes, Asante. Great. Other members? So, if other members, if it is okay, can we end up the session? Members? Susan, can we end up? I think all our ICT members are on board. Andrew is there, Tilak is there, Vincent is there, Susan is there, Vabira is there. I think I missed Betty. So, if you are okay, can we close the session?
It's fine, Doctor. We can close. Thank you.
Okay. So thank you very much, Bibalenyo, Sila Bulunji. Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The
Thank
recording
you. Thank you.
Yeah, the recording will be shared
Thank
with
you,
you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.